Good morning, students. The next topic in this chapter is cultural factors and health. Okay, so we saw social factors and health. This is cultural factors and health. So, health itself is a cultural concept. Okay, so the culture in a particular area decides how we look at the diseases and experience it. One of the common things we can think of is leprosy. So the leprosy is like it's a disease, but each culture looks at leprosy differently. Some people think it's a bacterial disease, some people think it's a curse of God. So each person based on their culture decides what is the cause of the disease. So let us see how culture can affect health of a person. So the patients and the healthcare providers' view of health and illness, how they see diseases, it differs. For example, during the coronavirus outbreak, you all remember that people came out of their houses and clapped for the health workers. But at the same time, some people threw stones and hit the health workers who came to bury a dead doctor. Some doctors are not willing to treat coronavirus patients, but others are willing. So that means each health worker itself differs how he treats each disease. Same way, each patient or each culture looks at health workers and diseases in a different way. Some look at it positively as a curable disease, others look at it as an incurable disease or even a curse of God. Then based on the cause of disease also, healthcare workers and patients believe different things. For example, I already told about leprosy, what people think is the cause of disease. So in Afghanistan, when children have epilepsy or fits, they start shaking. So the people in Afghanistan, some of them think that an evil spirit is shaking the child. Same way they do for tetanus-like illness also. When the child is having high fever and shaking, they think that a devil is come and shaking the child. Same way in Tamil Nadu and in India, people tell about the evil eye. Evil eye na kandu podranga அப்படினு சொல்லுவாங்க. So they think or a demon is the cause of the disease. So when people have illnesses, others say that it is because of the evil eye that these people are getting a disease. They do not tell that it is because of the biological reason or some function is the body's functioning is wrong or there is a pathology in the body. They do not tell like that. They tell it is because of evil eye. It is because of demon. So these are various reasons why people think diseases are caused. This is a cultural perception, cultural thought. And some people think that God gives disease. Okay, in every religion like Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, everybody thinks that some diseases are God given. And in fact, there are some people in each religion who won't take treatment because they wait for God to cure the disease. This is also a cultural aspect. We also know that only some of the diseases are stigmatized. There are so many diseases, but depending on the culture. See, in India, we think that one woman should have one husband. That's all. In Western countries, this concept is not there. So for them, HIV/AIDS is not a stigmatizing disease as much as it is in India. So it depends on the culture which disease is stigmatized. Same way in India, because we are a religious society, we stigmatize leprosy thinking leprosy is a curse of God. In Western countries, they are not deeply religious. So they do not think about God and leprosy. They think it's only a particular disease. Just like the cause of disease, stigma and other things, even health promotion activities are affected by the culture. Okay. For example, in Canada, people who are obese or overweight, they are not thought to be obese, but instead they are thought to be people who are strong. In fact, women and men who are overweight are considered to be healthy, whereas in other societies, overweight or obese people are thought to be sick people. So it is culture what decides which is a problem in the body. Even the pain and the illness that is experienced and expressed, it differs from culture to culture. In some cultures, any man and woman who has pain and illness can express it, can tell it out to their family members. They're feeling, I am feeling very sick. But in other cultures, people are told, be like a man, be brave, do not tell it is paining. So people have to suppress their pain. So even if they are sick and pain is there, some people hide it because of the culture which is present. Even how patients ask for help when they are sick, it is affected by culture. These days it is slowly changing because of availability of healthcare, but those days women who were sick were slow in asking for help. Men were the first people who could tell the family members that they are sick and they will go for treatment, whereas women, they had to tell the males in the house, and then when the males were free, they had to be taken to the healthcare worker. Also, traditionally, most societies, they look at the allied health carers or traditional healers before visiting the doctor. So villages, they go to the village healer instead of going to the doctor. So that is how societies are treating their ill or sick people. Same way, when patients are going and meeting the doctor also, they do not even make eye contact, thinking it is a sign of respect. People want to give respect to the doctors, so they do not look them directly in the eye. But sometimes health workers think that these people who are not looking at them, they are depressed, because when you look down and do not look at the person in the eye, it is a sign of depression. So health workers may think it is depression, but actually the patient may be having respect for the doctor. So these are the different ways in which culture actually affects different aspects of healthcare, both these diseases, the perception of disease, treatment of disease, cause of disease, and how people ask for help, and how each person feels when they have a particular disease. So these are some of the various factors on how culture changes the way people look at illness or disease. There are also other ways in which the cultures affect healthcare. Okay, so let us see what are the other ways. Acceptance of a diagnosis. For example, some people think that the male in the house has to be told the diagnosis, not everybody. Then the children are not told about diagnosis. Only one person is told the diagnosis, or which time to be told. Is it a good time to tell about the diagnosis? Is it a good time to meet the doctor? So all these are cultural things. Then acceptance of health promotion activities. As a medical sociologist, you will be involved in a lot of health promotion. You will be telling people who are sick about vaccines, about prenatal care, about birth control. All this when you do. So as we were seeing, as medical sociologists, you will be involved in all these things. So you have to face different kinds of people. Some of them will accept vaccines, some of them will accept birth control, screening tests, but others will not, especially the older people in the family. So you will have to counsel them. It takes a lot of time to change their mindset, because it is not easy that what has been there for many generations, they will change within a short time. Okay. The other thing is the amount of control individuals have in preventing and controlling diseases. So the oldest person or the male in the house are the decision makers. So they are the people who will decide for the whole family. So sometimes it is better to talk to the person who is the decision maker in the family and make them accept about changes. Then it is easy for the whole family to accept the change. Okay. So even perception of death or dying people, there are ways in which each culture treats. In India and other cultures, some of the people actually pour milk in the mouth of the person who is dying. Okay, this is a traditional thing, and some people actually die quickly because milk is poured inside the mouth. This probably was because in the olden days people did not want a person who was already dying to suffer, so they poured the milk so that they will die immediately. Then use of direct versus indirect communication. I already told you about the making eye contact. Some cultures, making eye contact can be considered as rude, especially if a woman is talking to a male. So that is something that you have to keep in mind when you counsel patients. Then there are different factors like even the sex of the healthcare provider or health worker. So sometimes males can treat only males, females can treat only females. So this is something which is present in the society. People do not accept a male doctor to treat female patients. So for example, Dr. Ida Scudder, who created CMC, when she was in school, she saw 3 pregnant women dying because they did not want her father to treat them during delivery. So 3 women died because they did not want a male doctor to treat them. So that is, they were ready to die rather than a male doctor treating. So that is how the culture makes an impact on the patients. Then the family ties play a role in how the culture is. Then perceptions of the youth and aging. So olden days people did not listen to young people because they thought young people were inexperienced people. But slowly these days younger people are being listened to by older people. The main reason is younger people have access to more information because they use technology like internet and cell phones. Now older people think that younger people have more information about diseases, so they are willing to listen. That is how culture has changed slowly. And even accessibility of health system is based on the culture. So for example, in countries like Muslim countries, the women have a separate place where they are treated, males have a separate place where they are treated. So accessibility changes based on the culture. We'll see some examples of culture and how we can overcome. Okay, women in villages are likely to deliver in their homes. Okay, when they are pregnant, they do not go to the hospital because traditionally their village midwife or the one lady who delivers the children, she has been delivering children for many years. So people prefer her to deliver than going to the hospital. One thing is the cost involved. The other thing is people feel that it is a female treating the female, and in a hospital males will be there. It is also a cultural factor that women will deliver in their house itself. But what are the risks involved? When a woman delivers in her house, the risk is there could be bleeding or there could be emergencies. This can cause danger to the life of the mother and child. So this is a major problem. So slowly the government tried various methods, but most of them did not work. So finally the government came up with a plan to provide incentive or financial benefit to women who are delivering in hospital. Slowly now more and more women are going to the hospital to deliver, and this has reduced maternal mortality rate in the country. So that is something that you have to understand. So what are the other things that health professionals can do? You are a health professional, so to variation in the culture, what can you do? You have to counsel the patient. Okay, so there are different ways in which you have to counsel the patients. So some points that you can use for when you counsel is, first consider how your own culture's beliefs and behavior can affect the patient. See, we always think patients have different culture, but sometimes your culture may be the one which is contrary to what patients are undergoing. So the patients may feel that your culture is different. So you have to understand their culture and your own culture and make it have a common meeting point so that patients will benefit. Then you should respect and understand, and when working with different cultural perceptions. When you are very dismissive, when you tell, oh, this is wrong, what you are telling is wrong. If you tell like that to a patient, then they will never listen to you. You have to listen to them, you have to respect and understand their views, and then put your views across to them so that they will listen. Then listen carefully to patients and confirm that you have understood their message. As I said, if you do not listen properly to a patient, they will feel that you are not listening, and they will also not listen to what you say. So it is very important that you listen first carefully, and then you tell what is your point of view. Then you also should make sure that the patient understands his illness or health. So some people may think pain in the chest may be just gastritis. So you should, if it's a heart problem, you should tell the patient how serious the problem is. Same way, before delivery, if the child is inside the mother's womb in a wrong position, then you have to make the mother and the family understand that it can be risky for both the child and the mother. So you have to ensure that the patient understands completely about the health or illness. Then you also should understand that the patient is free to use alternative therapies. For example, if they want to use homeopathy, you should not say straight away that homeopathy or Ayurveda is wrong. It is their right to use that also. So if both can be used together, then you can allow that. If something is going to cause harm to the patient, then you have to counsel the patient about the potential harm that alternative therapies can cause. Finally, you have to create a treatment plan based on mutual agreement and understanding. So only when you listen carefully and follow all the above things, you will be able to convince the patient. Then after all this, you can decide along with the patient about the treatment. So you should not decide unilaterally or on your own about the patient's treatment, but together make a treatment plan. It will take time, but it will be very effective in changing the mindset of the patients. Then we come to the factors that can overcome cultural barriers. Suppose there are barriers which are there in the treatment of patients. Some of the things that can help are lower cost of treatment. If you lower the cost of treatment than the traditional cost, then people will be willing to use your treatment. One way of doing it. Then higher effectiveness of treatment. So suppose your treatment is effective than a traditional healer's treatment, then people will slowly change to your method of treatment. Then show examples of previous beneficiaries. In leprosy, for example, we see a lot of people do not want to undergo surgery to correct their deformities. So we show photos of people who have already undergone surgeries. That will help people to change their mind. Then spending more time with patients. I have already listed the various things that you can tell and talk to a patient. So when you spend time and talk to them about this, it will change their mind and help them to overcome cultural barriers. Then make them understand the healthcare that is available. A lot of people do not know that the technology has changed healthcare and now it is easier to get treatment. So you have to use this method of making them understand. Finally, counseling patients and family members. So you have to counsel not only the patient but also family members, especially the decision makers in the family. That will help them to change the mind. Okay. So before we finish, let's just see one topic, the cultural meaning of illness. Okay. So we are studying about how culture changes the perception of illness. So let us see how culture thinks differently about disease. As a medical model of health and a medical professional, you know that most of the causes of disease are due to germs or pathology or biology. Okay, it is caused by the changes in the structure of the body or function of the body. But there are some diseases which are based on previous experiences. For example, pain. Some people may tell, I have pain in the leg. Actually, they may not have pain, but previously because they have pain, they are thinking it is paining. So these are all psychological diseases. So you should understand. A lot of people, based on the culture, they have psychological diseases. Okay. So other than the biology or the physical problems, our culture also causes diseases, and especially which diseases are stigmatized and which disabilities are stigmatized all depend on the culture. Okay, as I already explained to you, in HIV/AIDS in some countries it is not a stigmatized disease. Same way, leprosy is not a stigmatized disease in some countries. Okay, so culture plays a major role in which diseases are stigmatized. Okay, so the stigmatization of illness causes the greatest effect on the patient. Okay, so who is affected maximum? First is the patient, second is the patient's relatives. Okay, so the patient is affected because of stigma, and the treatment that the patient gets for the disease is also changed. In fact, in many countries, even the healthcare workers can cause stigma. This is something which we have seen in coronavirus, for example. Many hospitals do not admit coronavirus patients, they send them off. Okay, this is true even in other diseases like sexually transmitted diseases, mental problems, and even leprosy. For example, even in a big hospital which we have in Vellore, people think that leprosy patients have to be isolated. But in Karigiri Hospital, we do not isolate leprosy patients, and we treat them as just like any other disease, and we treat them. So the stigma is not only because of the culture but because of the healthcare workers also. Okay, so these patients who are stigmatized, they are given a poorer method of treatment. They are not given the full health care. So if you go to the government hospital, some people are treated differently. Some people who are rich are treated differently. Okay, so other than the stigma, the class of the person or the social status of the patient also makes a difference in how they are treated. Okay, so let us see what contested illnesses are. We already talked about the real illnesses caused by biological factors like pathology. Now, contested illness are the ones which are more psychological. Okay, they do not have a biological background. So some diseases like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome. So some people keep telling that they feel very tired, they are very sick, that they are not able to walk, that they have palpitations when they walk. So these kind of diseases, they do not have any biological basis. So some patients think like that as soon as they start walking, they have tiredness. As soon as they do some work, they are tired. So it is the patient's perception or the patient's mental status that causes these diseases. So you have to be dynamic in how you treat the patients. Okay, so you also have to understand that not all diseases are biological in nature, but some diseases are contested illnesses which may be only psychological, and you have to understand the patient's mind before you treat these kind of diseases. This is also mainly because of culture. For example, in India, a lot of people, because of the traditions, they tell that they suffer from particular diseases. So for example, when you are in your family, some people may say you have severe headache, because if they want to take rest in the family, then especially children, they tell when they have to go to school, I have headache. So slowly, if you have to avoid work, people start telling that they have headache. So this is not a real illness but a psychological illness. So such things can happen, and health workers have to counsel the patient and do all the tests before they finally conclude that it is a psychological problem. So this is the role of culture on health and illness. So the next topic is role of culture on people's perception on health, which we will see later.